At the same time, I was deeply heartened by the detail and the transparency and the honesty in the report. So this was, there'd been allegations, there'd be a whitewash, be this. It was nothing like it. It was brutal, and it needed to be brutal.
There's certainly a lot of detail in the report. I'm not going to contest that, but I suppose I'm interested in some of that detail. You were very quick to defend Commander Yvonne Gray after misogynist comments were made about her in the wake of the sinking. The report was scathing. It said she didn't have the appropriate platform endorsement to command that ship. Do you still stand by?
I was very quick to defend Commander Gray's gender, that she was not there for being a female, and by the way, her being a woman did not have a part to play in that. After the report, read the report, very clear, nothing to do with gender. I think it's one of the things that I found most upsetting about the MANAWANUI, apart from the fact it was a $120 million ship at the bottom of the sea, was how some people were so quick to go straight to her gender, forgetting that, of course, men also captain ships. Ships are lost. We've had a couple just recently from some of our friends lost. No one questions that if a man's in charge, it's going to be, sunk.
The whole thing with the whole point of gender equality is surely that people should be judged on their individual merits, right, rather than gender. But she wasn't platform endorsed, which means that she was fundamentally unqualified to be commanding that vessel. If she was unqualified, why on earth was she commanding it?
Well, of course, as you know, there's been indication from the Chief of Navy that 3 people will be subject to courts martial, and I've got to just stay.
That's part of the disciplinary process. But I mean, you've just said that she wasn't commanding that vessel because she was a woman, that she was qualified. But the report spells it out. She wasn't qualified because she didn't have the platform endorsement. So the question is, who put her in charge? Why was she there if she didn't have that endorsement?
My understanding from Navy is that the endorsement is not meaning they're not qualified to do it. It's another step they take.
A process they go through once they get command of the ship. But again, who appoints someone to a role who doesn't then get the platform endorsement?
Having lost so many people, qualified and experienced out of the Navy, they got to 17.7% loss. I can understand why they're trying to step up, but it's frankly not good enough. We need to have a health and safety mandate in there. It's got to be all the way through. And as we've seen, we could have lost 75 people. And basically we didn't, and that's great, but we should never be in that situation.
So in learning that Commander Gray wasn't platform endorsed, can you see how this report will now embolden the view of those armchair admirals, as you described them, who were making those misogynistic comments? They're going to say, this woman shouldn't have been commanding the ship, and they're going to blame it on her gender and say she was unqualified, that she was only appointed to the role because she was a woman. And now they have this detail that, in a sense, backs them up, in that she wasn't necessarily qualified to be commanding the vessel.
Well, my understanding is she was qualified, but the endorsement is something that comes later. I think one of the things too is that there are 2 men, as I understand it, also subject to this inquiry. I just really think people should wait until the disciplinary process goes through, because it is a very serious thing. If I go charging in there, Jack, I don't want there any suggestion that I've got anything to do with that. I've got to be able to let them get on with their job.
So the Defence Force knew that staffing levels were low. Page 107 of the report, quote, hollowness was a factor that had been raised as a risk impacting MANAWANUI. And yet MANAWANUI was sent out to do a job its crew wasn't qualified or trained adequately to do. With a crew of 45, there were 20 recorded personnel deficiency. Substandard training, a ship that should never have been doing that work. Who takes responsibility for that?
Well, I understand from Navy that it is not unusual for people to be learning on the job as such, because that is normal. You don't suddenly become an expert in the area if you've never actually been in there. It's like trying to
20 personnel deficiencies in a crew of 45.
That will be, no doubt.
A ship doing the work that it shouldn't have even been doing.
Well, I don't know.
No platform endorsement for the commander. I mean, whose responsibility is this?
Well, it all comes back to the situation that the Navy found itself in.
And so who's responsible for that situation? Because, I mean, you've got these 3 people facing a disciplinary process, the commander and these 2 other officers who were on the bridge. But what about the people who sent MANAWANUI out?
Well, I'm sure that's going to be looked at.
Are those senior members of the New Zealand Defence Force facing disciplinary processes?
Well, not that I'm aware of, and I do believe, though, that you'll find that the disciplinary processes, these same issues will be raised. It's not for me to go charging into there.
Well, I mean, it is if you're the Minister of Defence when it comes to levels of responsibility, right? And I just want to understand, does anyone above the rank of Manawaanui's commanding officer bear responsibility or some responsibility for this disaster?
Well, I think that the Chief of Navy has been very clear that it is normal on Navy ships and other platforms for people to be waiting for endorsement to come through or to be learning along with others on the job. In this particular report, it was pretty clear multiple things went wrong, multiple things were left there. It is unfortunately a situation where we look at the facts, it was really a disaster that